Hey, what is going on, guys? It's Young here, and today I'm back in another Fortnite video, and in today's video, I want to share with you guys some very good tips and tricks that you guys can use to get comfortable with your new binds and new sensitivities very quickly, because that can be one of the hardest things to get used to when you're changing either your binds or your sensitivity. It can just take a little bit of time to get used to. So I want to show you guys a couple of things that I do that personally help me get used to new binds and sensitivities very quickly. And real quick, before we get into the video, I have a V-Buck giveaway. I give away V-Bucks every single Friday. So if you guys would like to enter this giveaway and win some free V-Bucks, all you guys have to do is to drop a like on this video. Make sure you guys do subscribe to the channel. Hit that notification bell so you guys get notified for every single new upload and when I announce the winners every Friday. And lastly, make sure you guys put down your Xbox gamer tag, your PSN gamer tag, or Epic account down in the comment section below, and you guys will be automatically entered into the giveaway. And lastly, if you guys like to support me in the item shop, all you guys have to do, go down to the bottom right, hit on support a creator, type in my creator code, which is Young Humor, and you guys will have me added and supported as a creator in the item shop. And alright guys, let's go right to the video. Alright, so in this video, like I said, I want to show you guys some very good tips and tricks that you guys can use to get better with your new binds and new sensitivity very quickly. And as you guys know, I do change my sensitivity pretty often, but there is a single thing that I do that makes it a lot easier to get used to and how I'm able to change my sensitivity very often. But first thing, I want to show you guys, as far as binds, a really good recommendation as far as changing them. So if you guys ever do like to change your binds, and of course the binds that you have are going to be different from mine because I play with 4 paddles. So if you guys just want to know what I have, if you just out of curiosity, my upper left paddle is my pickaxe, my upper right one is going to be my edit button, my bottom left one is my jump button, and then my bottom right one is how I pull out my either bounce pads or traps, just depending on what I have. So there's just the paddles that I have, so of course it's going to be a little bit different. But as far as binds, one mistake that I made when I was changing my binds not too long ago is that when you're changing binds, they take a lot more time to get used to than a sensitivity. You can get used to a sensitivity probably within a couple of days, maybe like 3 to 4 days. It just depends on, what you change. But as far as binds, I think for me they take at least 1, 2, maybe even 3 weeks to fully get used to. So they definitely take longer than sensitivities, just because it's a little bit harder as far as your muscle memory to get used to. So when you're changing your binds, the number one thing you guys want to do, if you ever look to change your binds, you want to make sure you change everything at the same time. And what I mean by that is if you are looking to change binds and say you maybe want to change your jump button and maybe your edit button, it's usually best if you end up wanting to change something, you always want to change it at the same time, because what can happen is if you change, say, your jump button 1 week and then the next week you decide to change your edit button, it's going to be a big pain to get used to, because like I said, changing your binds take a long time to get used to. So if you're going to make a change for your binds, if you want to completely change everything you have, it's usually best to change all of them, right at the same time and not try to do one after the next. That's just as far as my recommendation as for binds. But if you guys do change your binds, and say for instance your jump button, one thing that you guys want to make sure you do it in order to get used to that bind very quickly is, say for instance you change your jump button. Now there's a lot of different motions you can do while jumping. So you can maybe jump when you're going to shoot a shot, maybe you jump when you're building, or you can even jump when you're editing. And so it's really important that when you change your binds, say as I said, if you change your jump button, that you would be practicing all the different motions in which you would use jumping for. So jumping for shots, building, and editing, because a lot of the times what I've noticed is that there's certain movements that are really easy to get used to, and there's certain movements that are a little bit harder. So when I was having my jump button, whenever I changed my jump button to one of my paddles, one thing that I had is if I was just jumping for jump shots, it was super easy to get comfortable with, and I had no problems. Right, the biggest problem that I had when I was jumping and editing at the same time. So that's why you want to practice all the different motions that you can think of, because some motions are going to be harder than other, and you really want to practice as many different variables as you can if you want to get used to your new binds very quickly. Now the next thing that I want to talk about is changing your sensitivity. Now a really good way, or really a good tip to use if you ever look to change your sensitivity and want to get used to it very quickly. Now, it just depends on which sensitivity that you change. Most people change their X and Y sensitivity, so their horizontal or vertical speed. A lot of the times people mainly change this setting, and what you guys want to do if you do end up changing this setting, you only want to adjust it by 2 to 3 points at a time. You don't want to do anything more than that, because the more adjustments that you make, the harder and longer it's going to take for you to build that muscle memory and just allow you to hit a lot more flick shots. But if you only move your X and Y sensitivity up or down a couple points, so like 2 to 3 points at the most, then it's going not to be that difficult to get used to. You're going to be able to hit flick shots like before. Maybe it just feels slightly faster or slower, but it's not going to cause you to mess up that many shots, versus if you decide to raise your sensitivity by 5, 6, or even like 10 points, if you make like a drastic jump and your sensitivity, it's going to cause you to miss a ton of shots, and it's going to be a lot more difficult to get used to, and it could take you even a couple more days to fully get used to that new settings. So I always recommend changing it little by little. Now, as far as when it comes to changing your building and editing sensitivity, this one's a little bit more different, because I don't really have a problem with drastically raising it or drastically lowering it. But the problem is, you want to find a sensitivity that's just comfortable for you, because if it's just too fast, you're not going to be able to control it. So as long as you're able to control your sensitivity, honestly, I can play on a low building and editing and a high building editing and have no problems at all. Maybe just like the slight hiccup here and there, but for the most part, I can change between my building and editing sensitivity fairly easy without having too many problems as far as muscle memory. So for me, I don't really have an issue, but maybe if you guys are a little bit more sensitive to changing your building and editing, maybe only raise it by, I would say, 2 points or so, and see how you like it, and then make adjustments from there. But as I said, for myself, I can go down from like a 2 all up to a 2.4 and not have any issues whatsoever on being able to edit quickly or just very accurately as well. I don't really mess up a lot of edits when I'm jumping in between settings. Now, as far as your ADS sensitivity, I recommend only adjusting this sensitivity by 1 point each. I mean, you can go 2 points if you want, but I prefer just to move it by 1 point, because a lot of the times when you're talking about your ADS sensitivity, every single point makes a huge difference. I mean, there is a huge difference between, say, 9% or even like 10, 11%. Just that one extra percent really makes a huge difference as far as your ADS sensitivity. It's not too drastic when it comes to your horizontal and vertical, or maybe you're building and editing, but as far as your aim down sight sensitivity, it really is a big deal every single point. So I recommend only changing it by 1 point at a time, higher or lower just depending on which sensitivity you think works best for you. But that's as far as my recommendations for that specific setting. Now, as far as my dead zones, I would just, for me, they're the kind of the same as the building and editing. I just find dead zones that work for me, and I really don't have any problems getting used to it. I think the lower dead zone that you have, the more responsive everything feels, but you're not going to be choking too many shots if you are in a little bit higher of a dead zone. It might make things a little bit less responsive, but it's not going to screw you over too bad. But those are going to be my recommendations as far as the sensitivity settings if you want to get used to them very quickly. Like I said, for your horizontal and vertical speed, you want to change it within 3 points. I recommend like 2, but you can go up to 3 if you want to. Your building and editing really doesn't matter. I mean, I can go in between high and low without any problems. And then your ADS sensitivity, you only want to change it 1 point at a time. Now, as far as the binds, as I mentioned earlier, the best way to get used to it if you do end up changing your binds is just to make all the changes that you want to make at the exact same time, so you're not constantly switching every single week, because binds do take the longest to get used to. And when you're changing your binds, say you change your jump button or your edit button, you really just want to make sure you practice every single different motion you can think of that relates to the bind. So maybe if you change your jump button, you practice jumping while shooting, you practice jumping while editing, and jumping while building. So you practice all the different motions, and that's going to help you get used to your new binds and sensitivity very quickly. So with that being said, that's wrap it up for this video. If you guys enjoyed this video, if you found it very helpful, make sure you guys do drop a like, subscribe to the channel if you guys are new, hit that notification bell so you guys will get a notification for every single new video, and I do live stream every single day here on this channel at 4:30 Eastern Standard Time. So make sure you guys hit that notification bell so you guys will get a notification when I go live here on this channel at 4:30 Eastern Standard Time every single day. But with that being said, I appreciate you guys watching the video, and alright guys, I'll see you next video.